Hi, it's your psycho buddy. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by Amelie, who has experiences a lot of people share, some of which I do, across categories that we call either neurodivergence, or I prefer the term neurodiversity. I also consider myself neurodiverse, and I'm really interested in how being neurodiverse or neurodivergent affects your life. How does it show up in your behavior or in your communication with other people?
Well, the communication answer is a lot more simple than the behavioral answer. For behavior, I would say that it can be really, really difficult sometimes because I have trouble handling my emotions in a way that makes it easier for other people to understand. I get mad, like really, really mad sometimes, and I don't know how to handle that, so I lash out. And then other people don't really know how to handle it, and it just becomes a big mess for everybody.
If you can turn that around to a piece of advice for parents of kids and adolescents, teenagers or 12-year-olds who have the same problem, what kind of advice would you give parents about how to deal with those big emotions?
Please try to be understanding. It's very helpful when a kid is going through something and someone else is handling that situation with patience instead of even more anger. Mm-hmm. It really helps calm down the situation a lot and makes the kid feel like it's a safe space for them to show up and actually be themselves.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. That's really useful. That's very useful advice. How about, just as your mom, I've noticed sometimes when you have those big emotions, you go stony and it's like you go into a sort of verbal lockdown. Can you tell me about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, most people call it going nonverbal, and it's a very common phenomena in like the autistic ADHD community. And it can be really, really frustrating for neurotypical people who don't understand neurodivergence that much. Because one minute you're talking normally, nothing seems out of the ordinary, and then 10 minutes later you're completely mute. You cannot talk at all. And it's hard for them to understand that if you could talk, you would, but the part of your brain that handles all of the verbal communication system is sort of shutting down right now as a way to handle the situation that you're in a lot better. Even if it's for mild stuff, like it's just everything is a little too loud for comfort. It takes very extreme measures and starts to shut down parts of your body that don't it's
Take a breath. Just take a breath. Try again. You're doing great.
What was the question?
You were saying it starts to shut down parts of your body, or I would say parts of your cognition, parts of your brain.
Yeah, it starts to shut down parts of your cognition that handle things like speaking or thinking clearly, and it's really frustrating for everybody in that situation who doesn't understand it, or even the individual themselves, if they do understand it, understand what's happening and how to deal with the situation. It just gets really, really annoying because it's a very mundane or trivial thing that doesn't need that big of a reaction, but your brain can't help it.
Mm-hmm. I had a similar thing when I worked in an autism clinic when I was a registered behavior technician, and there was so much noise because there were more than 30 kids on the spectrum, and then more than 30 therapists who worked with them, plus all the supervisors. And there was so much noise that I couldn't concentrate enough to learn everything I was supposed to be learning, and it cut down on my emotional buffer. So I couldn't hold my emotional space, and so I started crying. And then I was mad at myself because I was crying and not functioning in the middle of work, and I was like, this isn't the right thing for me. So I really understand that, being mad at yourself when your brain just shuts down because of something you're like, I should be able to handle being in a room full of loud kids, right? But then that's where we get to self-compassion. Do you actually, before we move on, because there's something else really important I want you to share, but before we do you ever practice intentionally being kind to yourself in the face of that?
No.
That might be, would you be interested in trying to do that? Does it make sense, or would you rather just bull through it until you can talk again?
The latter.
Okay.
That's easier.
Yeah, self-compassion is not easy. Okay, so when you are stuck nonverbal, how do you deal with that?
Well, there's 3 real options that I normally do, and the most common one is using sign language, and it helps me because just for fun, I teach some of my friends how to sign words, and when I just stop talking altogether, it helps because then I sign to my friends and they understand what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Because when I try to sign with people who don't use ASL on a daily basis, that's hard for them because they just don't know sign language, and I can go and they just stare at me like.
Can you translate that for us?
Yeah, can I please have some milk? And they just stare as if I had said something in, Mandarin Chinese or something. And I understand why they would react that way. But why do you have to just go, huh? What? And the really, really bad reactions is, wow, are you throwing up gang signs? I've heard that one a lot. Because, 7th grade. Yay.
So, what do you think being neurodiverse brings into your life that is good? What is your superpower because of it?
Well, mainly just overall general being able to pick up things really, really easily. And, fun fact, a lot of kids in the gifted school system are neurodivergent or neurodiverse. And I know a lot of the kids in my GT class, gifted and talented, have either been diagnosed, self-diagnosed, or show symptoms of things like autism, ADHD, OCD, and which are all part of the neurodivergent experience. And when it comes to being able to pick up things really easily comes to different topics for different people. Like, it may not come to math as easily for some as for others, but there are different topics that can be easily picked up on for each single person. And for example, for me, my hyperfixation is aviation and aircraft, and I can research 5 or 10 different aviation incidents in a day and remember all of the details that I've learned about them. And another good one is music or instruments, and that one, it's pretty cool because now I can say that I play the trombone, the tuba, the electric guitar, the acoustic guitar, I'm learning the saxophone, I'm learning the piano, and it's just pretty cool to be able to say that you play or are learning to play all those instruments. And it also comes in handy with language as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, the last thing that I want to ask you, I notice you're stimming, by the way. The last thing that I want to ask you is about what you would like to tell parents about, I know that when we were talking beforehand about this, you had mentioned there's a rigidity around schedules that can be very stressful sometimes. And then just now you were talking about having really big emotions. There was an incident you and I were discussing where your behavior was very unlike you because you panicked because you hadn't known that you were going to have to walk home from school. So what would you like to tell the people who, like friends of people who are neurodiverse and parents of kids who are neurodiverse, what would you like to tell them?
For the difficult situations, please try to handle everything with compassion and understanding. Because when you don't, it really makes us feel like we constantly need to be masking, which is when neurodivergent people basically put on another different personality of themselves in order to be perceived by the general public a lot better than what they would be if they were actually like showing their real personality. And masking can lead to a whole slew of problems like anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, self-harm. Mm-hmm. And
tell me when you say please be compassionate and understanding, what actions does that imply? Like what does that look like?
Don't get mad, start screaming or punish them very badly, because if you know this is not like them, then
it may be an involuntary behavior.
Yeah, if it's not like them, then it's probably not their choice.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. That was great. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate it.
And also, there's 3 main ways of communicating non-verbally. One of them, the one that I mainly do with my closest friends, because it makes me look pretty stupid, is basically like non-verbal charades where you just have to do it. Because some of my friends don't know even the slightest bit of sign language. So if I'm asking for a pencil, I can go like... And another one is just writing notes. Like if we're out at recess, I just go nonverbal. One of my friends might hand me their phone on like a notes app, and I'll tell them what's going on so that they can understand what's actually happening. instead of me just shutting down and ignoring them, which has been a problem in the past.
So that's 1 and 2, and how about number 3?
Oh, the other one was American Sign Language, like I was just talking about.
Okay.